You did it! You clicked on the video. I'm so proud of you for taking the first step to helping yourself. If you want to keep helping yourself, keep watching. What's up, guys? I just wanted to offer a little trigger warning for anybody who's not ready to listen to anything about eating disorders just yet. I know you will get there someday, but if you are ready, keep watching.
The stars, the moon, they have all been blown out. You left me in the dark. No dawn, no day. I'm always in this twilight, in the shadow of your heart.
So before I start the actual video, I just wanted to show a few pictures of my past relapses because I want to show that no eating disorder or eating disorder relapse looks the same. Just because you might be a little bigger or even smaller than last time doesn't mean you're not as deserving to get help and to recognize that you have an eating disorder. Hi guys. So the past two videos I've done more stuff about dance, which is fun and all, but I figured, we should dig a little deeper today. So I decided to talk about recovering from an eating disorder relapse. And if you're having trouble recovering from specifically a relapse, not the first time, like second, third, fourth, whatever, how many times. If you are having trouble, I came up with kind of these like three main, you can call them steps, goals, tips. I kind of call them steps because I feel like they should go one after the other. I feel like that'll be that's how it helped me the most, and hopefully this helps. Okay, so one is forgiving yourself, okay? That is the biggest thing, because I think when we go through a relapse of an eating disorder, we can get even more ashamed of ourselves, and we can be a lot more negative to ourselves because you have double the guilt, double the shame. It's really, I think, the shame and double the embarrassment. I know I felt a lot of embarrassment, the first time I relapsed. So the second time I kind of went into my really, really bad eating disorder habits. A lot of the times I think it's hard to forgive ourselves because once you recover the first time, I know I told myself, I was like, never happening again. Like, I'm not letting that happen to me. I'm strong enough. And you are still strong even if it happens to you again. There's so many different circumstances, like COVID-19, you can't control that. Unfortunately, there's so many people who went into deep dives of some pretty bad stuff mentally during COVID-19. Almost the whole world. You were not the only person. So COVID-19, a toxic relationship or a toxic breakup can really just cause things to get out of your control. And you should not feel any type of embarrassment for the way that you naturally cope with traumatic experiences. Pregnancy, a lot of people, I still cannot, I'm not gonna have a child when I'm older. Like, I can't even picture my body like that. I think I would have a panic attack. But some people, it happens, and it drives them into a deeper hole after the pregnancy. Or during, sometimes. I think the main thing is don't beat yourself up, and please keep in mind to keep giving yourself forgiveness and kindness. That's the first thing. The second thing is recognizing and acknowledging your eating disorder habits. A lot of the times, we all know that's like the hardest thing. If it were your first time having an eating disorder, I would say this is probably the first step. But because it's your second time and you probably already recognize it, I think forgiving should be the first step. Second step is really acknowledging it like out loud. A lot of the times we have it in the back of our minds because we're like, oh, like came back, but we never really say it or we never really talk about it to someone else or just out loud to a camera. And I think specifically it's about pinpointing what your eating disorder habits are currently, what they were in the past, and how they're similar or how they're different. Because a lot of the times, I was 12 when I had my first eating disorder, and then I relapsed, where it really showed physically again when I was 16. I was like 16 or 15, like 15 to 18. And even though that's only 3 years, like a 12-year-old is so developmentally different than a 15-year-old. And then I never really relapsed like physically again, but again, mentally, I got really, really, really bad during COVID. And I was 19, 20, which is a lot different than a 15-year-old person. Therefore, my habits were a little bit different as well. And I think that's really, really important, is pinpointing the differences and the similarities of your habits. The reason I say this is because the differences in intensity and like the differences in the how extreme your habits are can call for different levels and forms of help. Your habits may be worse as you get older because you're older, you're mature, or your habits might not get as worse depending on how bad the relapse is compared to the first time you had an eating disorder. And I say this because a lot of the times people just assume if they, just do what they did in the past, that it'll go away. And sometimes it doesn't go away. And then you're like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. So then you're helpless and maybe you didn't go to therapy the first time. Maybe it wasn't as bad. Maybe you just like read a book and you, I don't know, listen to podcasts, stuff like that. And then maybe now it calls for looking for a therapist or taking medication or admitting yourself into a hospital, whether you like it or not. So I think it's pinpointing how extreme your habits are, because then the form of help that you get yourself should be just as extreme. Because you can't be 5'8" and 100 pounds and think that reading a self-help book is going to help. Because unfortunately it's not, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Also, if you can't really tell how extreme your habits are, because guess what? Most people who have eating disorders think that what they're doing is normal because they are manipulated by that little devil to think that these are just normal things. That the habits that you're doing are what you should be doing because it pleases him, Ed, right? So even if you have a really close friend or really close family member that you can trust will be brutally honest with you. Basically, you ask them, have you noticed any relapse habits, eating disorder habits, whatever you want to call them, and can you politely and kindly tell me what they are, how extreme you think they are, and what kind of help do you think I should get? Or a teacher, professor, anybody who you trust will genuinely have your back and tell you the truth, but not belittle you for it. Recognizing and acknowledging your habits, specifically pinpointing them out. So you are aware also, once you go into those habits, you're like, stop, and then reverse, or I don't know, whatever. Okay, lastly, obviously, this is the most obvious one, but I'm gonna say it, is get help. Get help, real help. Again, when I did my little relapse during COVID, I was mature enough to not actually go through with completely starving myself, but I was losing control of the whole world, right? I had this dance career that I was just starting and the world shut down. I was just getting into college and I was becoming a young adult where and I grew up always being busy, always being out of the house. So I thrive. I'm a homebody. I'm not really social, but I thrive doing stuff and getting stuff done and going to dance class for 8 hours, then sitting in my backyard and doing school and doing work and going to sleep, So when I had my little relapse during COVID, I took control of a lot of things. I started making really specific notes in my phone about what I should be eating every day, the calories, and I had to do it every single night. And I had to imagine what I was eating. It's very, very odd. It's more of an OCD characteristic. I had to imagine perfectly what I was eating until it felt right enough to leave it alone and not picture it again. And that was when my other problems started to occur. I got really bad anxiety, really bad panic attacks where I never really had those, or I was never really aware of those when I was younger. And I refused to get help because I was I'm not doing that again. I was I'm not doing that again because I felt guilty because I was when I was younger, I didn't understand therapy, so I was ashamed of it. I didn't tell anybody that I did it. My mom basically forced me and lied to me and said I had to do it for a year or something or else I would be taken away. But she got me to do it and I ended up loving it and I needed it. Or else I wouldn't have gotten better. Therapy is the main thing that got me better. So I went through all of COVID without therapy and my problems actually started getting a little bit worse once we went back to normal life. Because I was I was just hibernating in my house for the last 2 years and now I gotta just jump in and life feels like double the speed. So I got self-help books, my boyfriend, my family, they kept encouraging me to just go get help. And I have a very bad control issue with time. So I was I'm not going to have enough time in my day. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't want to have a commitment. It's an hour long. An hour long out of your week. You don't even have to have it weekly. If you want to start out with every other week or once a month for the first 6 months, whatever. So I did not get a therapist until September of 2022, literally 6 months ago. And I go every week. If I have I do it online. So it's a lot. It makes me want to go even more because it's more convenient. So whatever works for you. If you like in person or if you like online, if you feel online's going to make you go more because it's your laptop right here, boom, open it up, your phone, put some AirPods in somewhere. Whatever you need to do, please, please seek out help. You cannot do it alone. I promise you cannot do it alone. I'm not saying you're not strong enough, you're not brave enough, you're not courageous enough. No one can do it alone. Everybody needs support, connection, love from other people. So please get help. It might be hard to get a therapist. I know. I went through it. I tried it the first time and I started bawling my eyes out because I was why did they make it so hard and so expensive for someone not to kill themselves, to literally kill themselves? Because that's what you're doing with an eating disorder. You might not realize it, and it's actually the silent killer. It's known as the silent killer because you are slowly killing yourself on the inside and you have no idea. But your body feels it, and your body knows it, and your heartbeat's getting slower and slower and slower until one day, unfortunately, it's going to stop if you don't get help. So please, please, sometimes you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Like, I didn't realize it until my mom, like, said it. My mom was like, you are killing yourselves. You don't realize it, but you are killing yourself. And I was like, whoa. Like, I just was looking at my body and I was getting skinny. That was it. But no. You're only going to progress in life, whether it be in your career, your relationship, any type of mental health struggles you have, an eating disorder. You're only going to progress in those things by going outside of your comfort zone. By staying inside your comfort zone, you're going to keep holding yourself back. So please get out of that comfort zone and talk to someone. If you don't feel like something works, get back on your phone and look again. I got lucky enough that my therapist now, I didn't even realize it, but my insurance covers fully, 100%. And I never thought, the last time I saw a therapist, they charged me $200. I didn't even know they were going to charge me $200. And I started bawling my eyes out because I was like, this is a ripoff. And then I didn't get a therapist for another couple months. And then I got it. And I got it for free. So I promise you, it's going to pay off. So in conclusion, relapsing can be really scary. But please remember, you already did it once. Like, you recovered. You did it. So if you can do it once, you can do it again and again and again and again until you just add out of your life, literally. So you did it once, you could do it again. I think a great way to think about it is that you have a head start now. You kind of already know the gist. You're like, okay, I know the layout. I know the plan. I know his plan. It's like going against like a team that you already went against. You're like, okay, I know their habits. Like, how can I beat him? And you're strong enough to do that. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. And I think the biggest thing that helps me whenever I have those little habits is I think about all of the things, the events, the people, the moments, the memories that I would not have had if I lost my first battle. I remember when I was like a teenager, I won like this like national crown for dance, and it might not seem that big now, but at the time in my life and at the place in my life I was in, that was one of the best moments of my life. Like, I worked so hard and all of my hard work paid off. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I wouldn't have even been here to experience that. I just got like this big job with Mariah Carey in December, and I wouldn't have been there to get that job. There's so many, I promise you, there's so many things in your life. You don't even know the amazing things that are going to come to you in the future. So just please remember that. Please remind yourself that every single day you wake up, right? I have like 5 million Post-it notes on my desk. Write all of the moments that made your life extraordinary so far, all the people, all the memories, and read it to yourself every single day. And remind yourself that you would have missed it if you didn't push through. So that's about it. Recovery is worth it. Recovery is hard, but once you get your foot in the door, it keeps rolling. It keeps rolling. It's not as difficult once you get past that once you just send that email, leave that phone call for the therapist. That was the hardest part. The hardest part is done. Is getting over that mountain. And then all you gotta do is every day, consistency, reminding yourself every single day, being open and being honest. So I really hope anybody who's watching this, if you're not relapsing and you just want to watch and educate yourself, if you are relapsing, I hear you. I'm with you. Please, if you have to reach out, if you need to reach out in the comments, reach out in my Instagram DM if you want to be more private about it. Please reach out. I encourage you to reach out. I can help you find a therapist if you need. But please, if you have any questions, any concerns, if you just want to talk, because I know that's really therapeutic, is just talking to someone, even if it's a stranger, please don't be afraid. Okay? So I hope this helped. And if you gotta watch it over again and see me point at you and yell at you a little, go ahead. Bye, guys.